Welcome to the 10th day. Apologies if you've been waiting. I've just had to start YouTube again because I got that spinning wheel. So several of you asked about dimensions, and so I want to talk about the dimensions a little bit. What dimension do we imagine things in? Is it 2D or is it 3D? And we'd automatically think that we are imagining things in 3D. But when we look carefully, that's not necessarily the case. We may be imagining things somewhere between 2D and 3D and phasing in and out of those dimensions. So when let's start with the screen. So we are in school, we've got a piece of paper. We've got the blackboard. Those are flat, two-dimensional things. So when we think of a wave, what springs to mind? Is it a two-dimensional wave? Or are we seeing a stone plopping into water and the wave going into all directions? When we do our meditation and we see our heart, is that heart fully three-dimensional? Can I walk around it? Can I hold it? Or is it like a painting? Is it like a film? We're doing so much screen work these days that let's think of a person you're Skyping with or Zooming with most often. When you imagine that within your brain, is that like a film screen? Or is it like the person is there and you can walk around the person, you can hold their hand? Is it that kind of image, or is it something in between? When we move in our meditation down to the earth, fall into the earth, is that earth three-dimensional? Then the sun, is it three-dimensional? Do I have the feeling I can hold it? Or am I seeing it on a flat screen in my brain? So when imagination, of course, it's our creative force. It's how we create our life. It's how we manifest things. So if we're not fully imagining things in 3D, then we're also not necessarily manifesting or creating things in our 3D reality. 3D being that I have forward, back, sideways, and up and down. Whereas in 2 dimensions, I only have what's on a flat piece of paper, like this piece of paper, where the person is flat and this is a square, it's flat. I'm living in flat land. Yes. So, yes, and this here would be 3D. I can hold it in all directions. This is a cube. So when I'm in flatland, if I only see flat, I myself am a flat person. What comes if I take a cube and move that cube through 2 dimensions, this flat person in flat land in 2 dimensions, this is what the person will see. They will see a square, not a cube. If I take a sphere and move it through flat land, it starts touching on one spot, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and then goes smaller again. So it's the sphere would first look like a dot, then a circle, and the circle gets bigger and bigger, and then it fades out again. So that's what 3D looks like when it's moving through 2D. And that becomes interesting when we have 4D moving into 3D. So here we are in 3D, and something from the fourth dimension pops in and then fades out again. So we're only seeing part of what the real thing is when it comes from 4D into 3D. And we can also think of ourselves as a multidimensional being. So this here, that's here, is only what we see in 3D, but in 4D and in 5D and in 6D, we'd see so much more. We would be so much more. So if we're seeing something I'm in 3D and something 4D pops in and I'm seeing it as though it's 4D, it would be holographic because I can see all sides of it. Yeah. So our transition from 2D to 3D can be a slow transition. And our transition from 3D to 4D can also be a slow transition, partly in 4D, partly in 3D, moving back and forth, popping in and out. One experience that some of us may have is when we hear voices pop into our brain and then they go out again. It's 4D voices or higher dimensional voices, and they pop in and we hear part of it and they pop out again. Or light could be popping into our 3D experience and then popping out again. But in reality, there's so much more in those higher dimensions. Yes. So in 2D, we have in one dimension, it's like time, what we think of as time, linear, forward and back. In 2 dimensions, we have forward and back and up and down. In 3 dimensions, we have forward, back, up, down, and sideways. In 4 dimensions, we have an extra axis, and we can't quite grasp it. We can only set the intention for that extra next axis. So we have X, Y, Z, and another one, W. Meditation. So when we meditate, and there's many different kinds of meditations that we can do. When we meditate with imagination, we need to make sure that imagination is 3-dimensional. And for that, it's really good to work with geometry, sacred geometry. It's one of the popular meditations, works with the Merkaba. So a Merkaba is a star with 8 points. I have a whole YouTube on that, and I'll put the link below if you're really interested in starting to meditate with geometry, and especially with moving geometry, turning geometry. If we took the Merkaba as flat, we would see a 6-pointed star. There's also this other model here that I have. To really understand it and grasp it and work with it is a great thing to work with 3-dimensional creativity. Yes, I also want to go into meditation for cleansing. So we can think about our thoughts, words in our head. We can but we can also be creative in 3D, but we can also work on cleansing, clearing, like we cleanse our body. We shower and we feel a lot better. We clean our windows and we feel a lot better. We clean our mirrors, we feel a lot better. By the way, mirrors, that's also something flat. When we look in the mirror, we see ourselves as flat, and we need to see ourselves as the way we see ourselves, just like this, like a hand. Now you're seeing me flat, but look at yourself and you'll see 3D. So cleaning ourselves in meditation, one of the really top-notch meditations to do is forgiveness, cleaning our heart of forgiveness. Now because we've all been hurt, and we've all hurt other people. It's like the window's getting dirty. It just happens in 3D. We can imagine when we go to 4D, when we can imagine a place where we don't hurt each other. But right here, it's a continuous cleanse. And if we haven't been doing it, then it's a huge job to go back through our life and look at where we've hurt other people and clean that. Say I'm sorry within myself, and clean that with forgiveness, asking for forgiveness. I know, Corinne, you've asked about, or you've mentioned Ho'oponopono, and this is part of the Ho'opono task of saying and feeling, I'm sorry that I hurt you, and I ask for forgiveness. Truly asking for forgiveness, and then cleansing it by sending out love, this high frequency of love. We may have hurt people in so many ways by words, with words that we speak, that where other people feel hurt. It can be through deeds. It can be just by not being present, by running away, by not being there for another person. That alone can hurt someone. So really going through that may take time. It may take several days to cleanse our past. Okay, and I'm seeing your question, Gebhard, how is time related to different dimensions? Now, we've been told that time is just forward and back. That's the only way we can move in time. I would not take time as a space dimension. Okay, this is complicated to say. Now, time has various dimensions. So time is also not just linear. It's not just forward and back. It also, in time, we can move in all directions. Yeah. I would move away from what we're being told as time as the fourth dimension. Because that's not going to get us to where I want to go with the magic box dimension. Just think of time as multidimensional. You can move forward, back, up, down. You can roll sideways. It's an extraordinary experience, but we won't go there now. Yes, so that's it for today, and looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody.